Tonight, our special coverage on Israel's war on Palestine as the United Nations Humanitarian Office describes Gaza as hell on earth. Assalamu alaikum and good evening. This is Muslim News Canada on Muslim Network TV. I'm Zahra Sayed. Today is the 34th day since Israel started bombing Palestine. Israel's relentless and indiscriminate bombing continues. The Israeli military has killed 260 Palestinians in the past 24 hours. Al-Shifa Hospital, the largest medical complex in Gaza, has been targeted by Israeli forces. The munition dropped at the outpatient clinic and the maternity ward. During the recent offensive, Israeli snipers targeted 5 hospitals, a UN school, and a safe corridor. Israeli tanks have also surrounded these hospitals, trapping patients and displaced people. The United Nations Refugee Agency for Palestinian Refugees says more than 100 of its staff members have been killed during the Israeli bombardment. The UN's humanitarian office is describing northern Gaza as, quote, a hell on earth. At the time of writing, the Palestinian death toll stands at 11,078. The figure includes 4,006 children. 3,027 of these victims are women. 678 are elderly Palestinians. In addition to the staggering death toll, more than 27,490 Palestinians have been wounded. 1,500 children are missing in Gaza, with most feared to be buried under rubble. Israeli forces have also killed at least 174 Palestinians in the West Bank during the same period. The death toll in Israel stands at over 1,400. Gaza's health ministry says Israel airstrikes on hospitals in Gaza have resulted in multiple casualties. The Israeli military has also targeted the Al-Shifa hospital complex today, where thousands of displaced Palestinians are taking shelter. It is the largest medical complex in the besieged region. Gaza's health ministry spokesperson says these actions are aimed to make the hospitals inoperable. He says the attacks are displacing both patients and medical staff. Israeli officials claim that Hamas operates a command center at the hospital site. Both Hamas and hospital officials deny these allegations. The Director General of Al-Shifa Hospital says that the strike occurred in the yard of the hospital, injuring civilians and journalists. He says that there is a constant fear amongst medics, patients, and displaced individuals due to constant explosions near the facility. The attack is part of a series of reported strikes on or near the Gaza hospitals in recent days. Last week, Israeli forces targeted an ambulance outside the hospital, resulting in 15 casualties. Indonesia's foreign ministry has also reported that overnight explosions damaged the Indonesian hospital, which is at the northern end of the enclave. It is accommodating thousands of wounded and displaced Palestinians. An analyst says that Israel's indiscriminate bombing and forced expulsion of Palestinians from their homes can lead to Europe facing a significant influx of refugees. Hossam Shakir, a migration expert based in Vienna, believes that the devastating offensive on Gaza could lead to a mass exodus to Europe. He is warning that Israel's war can result in Palestinian refugees from both Gaza and Lebanon seeking shelter. Since Hamas's attack on Israel, over 70% of Palestinians in Gaza have been displaced. More than 200,000 homes have been partially or completely destroyed. Egypt and Jordan have rejected the idea of allowing Palestinians into their territories. Experts say Palestinians may use nearby countries as transit points to reach Europe if the conflict persists. Shakir says a new refugee wave could inspire people discontented with the region's conditions to make the journey to Europe, and neighboring countries may even encourage it. European leaders are aware of the potential crisis and are seeking to work closely with Egypt to prevent an influx of refugees. European Union data from last year shows a rise in asylum applications by Palestinians in Greece. Greece is the main entry point to Europe. It remains unclear whether these applications came from Gaza, the West Bank, Lebanon, Syria, or other countries with large Palestinian refugee populations. While some European countries are demanding stricter policies on receiving refugees, they are opposing a ceasefire in Israel's war. This contradictory response risks fueling a wider migration crisis that could impact Europe. So far, over 1.4 million Palestinians have been displaced, and the situation in Gaza continues to deteriorate. Save the Children has issued a plea for an urgent ceasefire in an ongoing Israeli war on Palestine. During an interview with the U.S. media, Jason Lee, the director for the Palestinian Territories for Save the Children, says the war is having a devastating impact on Palestinian children. Lee says one child is losing his life every 10 minutes. Another child is being injured every 5 minutes. The injuries are often life-altering. He says the humanitarian situation is dire in Gaza. 60% of Palestinians, or 1.5 million people, have been displaced from their homes. They are seeking refuge in overcrowded schools and hospitals with limited access to essentials like food, clean water, and medical care. Many families are surviving on one meal a day. Lee pointed out the lack of fresh water and the sanitary conditions in makeshift shelters. He says these conditions are spreading diseases. The impact on the mental health of children in Gaza is also profound. Children are experiencing rising levels of anxiety, depression, and fear, and a loss of hope for their future. Lee says 2 out of every 3 casualties are either women or children. He says there is a critical need for a ceasefire to protect civilians. Humanitarian aid cannot be delivered effectively amid ongoing airstrikes and shelling. Vulnerable children and families are unable to reach shelters. Lee says a ceasefire is not only possible, but essential to safeguard the lives of children and allow humanitarian organizations to provide assistance. The Israeli flag has been raised on the beaches of Gaza. Video footage shows Israeli soldiers raising their nation's flag on a beach in northern Gaza. They also sang the national anthem, Ha-Tikva. This controversial scene has sparked discussions about territorial sovereignty, political intentions, and human rights concerns related to the ongoing conflict. An Israeli commander is seen leading the troops. While addressing his unit, he makes a provocative statement claiming that Gaza, once Palestinian land, rightfully belongs to Israel. He says after 2,000 years in exile, Israeli forces have reclaimed the ports and beaches of Gaza. He says that despite being expelled from this land 2 decades ago, Israelis are resolute in completing their mission. Israel withdrew from the Gaza Strip in 2005, ending its direct occupation that began in the War of 1967. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has recently stated that the Israeli forces will remain in control of Gaza after the war, rejecting the idea of international forces taking over security. A pro-Palestinian demonstration at Toronto's Union Station saw protesters demand an end of Israel's war on Palestine. Demonstrators formed a circle within the bustling station yesterday, displaying banners and signs demanding an immediate ceasefire. An apparent organizer led protesters in songs and chants, with law enforcement presence on the scene. Thank you for watching. Our news is produced by Muslim Network TV, which is a not-for-profit organization. We need your support for donations. Please scan the QR code on our broadcast or visit muslimnetwork.tv to donate now, so we can continue to amplify the voices of Muslims in Canada and abroad. Assalamu alaikum.